For this video, I decided to go straight to the point and talk about tips and ideas for autumn landscape photography. I know it may be late because we are in the middle of November, but I think it's never late to talk about how beautiful this season is and how to address it as a landscape photographer. So the first tip or idea, it's going to be fog on the lake. Now, as you can see over here, I have a simple image, almost like a minimalist image. And usually in autumn, the nights are really cold, and sometimes in the morning the sun gets out, and then the surface of the lakes are filled with a little bit of mist or a little bit of fog. Now, from where I'm standing, the sun is somewhere around here, where I'm drawing this smiley face, like this. Reminds me of the moments when I was a kid and drawing the sun. So the rays of the sun are hitting the fog, and because I'm here in this area and the fog is between me and the sun, then the fog is lit up and it looks so beautiful. And every time you have fog, just try to position yourself in a way that the fog is between you and the sunlight, and you're going to see this beautiful fog. The rest of the image is really simple. I'm using lots of negative space. All that you see here is negative space. This place where I doodle this line, it's negative space, and everything put in perspective this group of trees. Now, another example for fog in lake is this one, which was a longer exposure. As you can see, you see the direction of in which the fog moves. Usually it's drawn to the source of heat, and the sun is rising from somewhere around in that direction. So it's going in that direction, the fog. And if you're doing a slightly longer exposure, which is very easy to obtain, even with no ND filters, if you're in the morning, right before the sunrise, you're going to hit at least 30 seconds exposure, and it's more than enough. Now I'm having a more ghostly approach to the editing. It's a little bit more desaturated and a little bit more bluish to have this creepy look. And let's look at another example. Again, now the sun is up, and I'm having the sun coming from slightly this direction. And a cool thing that is happening right now is that I'm having a lot more contrast in this area than in this area. And because of this difference in contrast, I can make this my subject. And the final example for tip number one is this one, where I'm having the sun on the autumn colored trees in the background, and then the sun is not hitting all these trunk of trees that are sunken in the water, and because of that you have a separation. So whenever you're photographing something, it doesn't matter if it's a landscape or it's a portrait, the subject must separate itself from the background. Now, the point of attention will be, in the end, will be the forest, and you can look at the forest as an end, or you can look at the trees and have the forest as a contrast area. I think it's a matter of who's watching. The second tip is to go inside forests. Just as you see humidity and differences in temperatures creating fog on the surface of the lake, it also creates fog in the forest. And whenever I'm in the forest, you can see right now an area of light and then areas of darkness on both sides. And I'm saying this over and over: position yourself in darkness and photograph source light, because it will look a lot better. Another example for this approach to photography in the forest is this one. Again, I'm having an area of shadow over here. I'm photographing in this direction. I'm creating depth by including this tree, which is darker, and then comes this tree, which is lighter, and then the third row of trees which are lost in fog. And this is a very simple way to create depth, and it's very simple when we're talking about fog. The challenge in the forest is to find simplicity and to eliminate the chaos of the forest. Fog helps you a lot with this. It makes things a lot easier, simply because it eliminates visually all the stress. Now let's move to tip number 3. Look for impressive trees. When I edited this image, I didn't notice this area over here. The tree has another hole in this area, and because of that the light falls in, and I increase the saturation in the image, and over here we have some bluish reflections, and because of that you see this over here. But composition, from a composition point, you have this big leading line. I'm standing really close to the tree, and the tree occupies the entire base of the image and then goes up, and it's a very, very simple way to create an interesting and beautiful image. Position yourself at the base of a really impressive tree. Number 4, search beauty in the little things. Not always you have to go for the big picture. Sometimes a little mushroom like this in a spot of light can create a really beautiful and interesting image. And a good tip here is to make sure that the background is black. The background doesn't have light on it, and the camera will capture an even bigger contrast, and you can also accentuate it in post, and you can get this really simple and cute image of this mushroom. Tip number 5, or idea number 5, is go for minimalist compositions. When you have foggy mornings during autumn, these kind of mornings are happening often. It depends also on the region or the area you're living in. But whenever you have a situation like this, you can capture images like this. All this sky over here, it's negative space, and sometimes I like to have more negative space in the frame, because it puts things in a perspective. It makes things smaller, and even though nature is really impressive and powerful, when you put it in perspective with the rest of the space, it's really small if you think about it like this. Tip number 6 is morning mist. As you can see, I'm a fan of fog and mist, and I'm trying to capture it as much as possible. And foggy mornings, when you are close to mountains, are something that are happening more often than rarely. So I'm having the fog at the base over here. In editing, I created a little bit of darkness, a little bit of shadow in this area, and then I really like that I'm having this small piece of forest that it's having these colors, these autumn colors. Now I also have large trees over here, and these are yellow, but I decided to desaturate a little bit this area because I wanted the viewer to concentrate or to have color only here in the forest. And then I'm having the mountain in the background with all this development of fog. And what the morning mist does here is to create depth and put in perspective the different ridges and mountain formations. Tip number 7 is try to capture rays of light. Usually these are happening early in the morning when you're having a little bit of mist through the trees, and you also have a clear sky. You're getting these rays of light, and again you position yourself, but over here it's more intuitive. You look at the light, and because there is fog between you and the light, you're going to see these rays, and this is happening more often than maybe you think of. Again, for example, over here you have the same example, and again I'm photographing from a darker area towards light, and I'm trying to simplify things. Tip number 8 is reflections. Reflections are really powerful. When you see all the colors of autumn, then you can have this beautiful background. It almost looks like a pastel, or maybe like an impressionist painting. Anyway, I really like this kind of details, and I think these kind of images looks really interesting. Tip number 9, or idea number 9, is photographing waterfalls. In autumn, waterfalls are spectacular. It doesn't matter how small or how big it is. In this shot, I don't have any autumn leaves in the water or fallen down on the ground, but I'm having some colors over here in the background over here, and then I'm having the light going through here. And it's a very simple shot. I'm using the tree over here as a starting point, and then the eye should go in this area. So it's not very complicated. And tip number 10, and idea number 10, is again related to forests. And find a tree that creates contrast, and usually these are the yellow trees. It depends on the type of forest, but in my forest, the leaves of the trees are more reddish, brownish, something like this. And whenever I find a yellow tree, I use it and put it in contrast with the other trees. Especially you see over here in the background that these trees have more green leaves on them. Fog helps a lot with this, because I can turn the fog a little bit towards blue, and then I have a lot more separation. And for example, over here you have another example. The fog is not blue, but still the tree separates itself. The separation is created over here by the fog, because it's these trees in the background are lighter and are losing themselves in the fog. So yeah, now I'm going back to tip number 1, so it's a loop if you want me to continue. So thanks for watching. If you want to learn more about landscape photography, I have an ebook on my website, and I have also workshops in Tuscany and the Dolomites, and the details are on my website. That the link is in the description of this video. Until next time, keep on photographing, because it's the only way that you can get better. Bye bye.